Welcome back to Mental Mike's Recovery Radio, where recovery meets discovery. I am Mental Mike, and this is episode 14. Before we go anywhere this week, I need to say something directly to you. If you are feeling all over the place right now, emotionally exhausted, on edge, running on empty, please hear me. You are not failing. What you are feeling is a predictable and completely understandable part of this process. And this week, I want to show you exactly why, and more importantly, what you can do about it. This material from the Unified Flux Model takes us into the alchemy of transformation, and I chose that word deliberately, because the ancient alchemists were not just trying to turn lead into gold. They were mapping the human journey through darkness into wholeness. And their map, thousands of years old, mirrors exactly what recovery looks like from the inside. We start with the HPA axis, your body's stress command center, and what addiction does to it long after the substance is gone. That fire alarm stuck in the on position, the mood swings, the fatigue, the restless nights, that is not a character flaw. That is biology working to find its balance again. And then we look at the practical tools the UFM gives us to start consciously rewiring the brain, designing new automatic responses to replace the ones addiction built. Not through willpower alone, but through intention, through breath, and through understanding exactly where you are on the map. If you feel like you are standing in ruins right now, like everything is breaking down around you, the UFM has a name for that place. And it is not the end. It is the beginning. And today, I am honored to introduce you to Denise. Denise's story carries the full weight of what Week 14 is asking you to trust. Because Denise has been in that dark place, the place where everything feels like breakdown and nothing feels like progress. And what she came to understand through this work is that the darkness was not a sign that she was losing. It was a sign that she was breaking open. Her journey through the alchemy of transformation maps directly onto the science, the psychology, and the deep truth at the heart of this week's material. Denise trusted the process even when she could not see the light yet, and she found it. So settle in. Be gentle with yourself today, and let's go deeper together.
All right, welcome to our discussion for Week 14. This week, we're really going to explore how you can reset your body's stress system and, start rewiring your brain for some real, lasting change.
So, if you're feeling all over the place emotionally, just completely wiped out, or maybe just constantly on edge, it is so important that you hear this. You are not failing. Not at all. What you're feeling right now is actually a predictable and totally understandable part of this whole process.
And this week, we're going to get into exactly why that is, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. We're going to be pulling some incredible insights from the Unified Flux Model, which is this amazing framework that blends science and ancient wisdom to give us a clear map for the journey ahead. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at this invisible system that is really at the very heart of what you're feeling emotionally right now, especially here in early recovery. I want you to think of the HPA axis as your body's internal stress regulator. The UFM explains that addiction just throws this entire system into absolute chaos. It basically leaves that fire alarm stuck in the on position even long after the substance is gone. So what does a busted fire alarm feel like? Well, it feels like this. If any of this is sounding familiar to you, those sudden mood swings, that deep, deep fatigue, the awful sleep, I need you to know it is not a character flaw. These are the biological symptoms of a system that is just desperately trying to find its balance again.
Wow. Sarah's experience right here is just so powerful because it shows this isn't just some theory, right? For years, alcohol was pushing down her stress system. Now that it's gone, that system is in complete overdrive. This is the biological reality so many of us face, and just understanding it is the very first step to healing it.
Okay, so now that we get the biological challenge, let's look at the psychological map. The Unified Flux Model gives us a framework for this part of the journey, and believe it or not, it's a map that is thousands of years old.
Ancient alchemists, they were really mapping out psychological transformation, and they identified these 4 stages. And this process, it perfectly mirrors recovery.
It's not some straight line up to the sky. It's a really powerful cycle of rebirth.
So here is the most crucial point. If you feel like you are standing in ruins, like everything is just breaking down around you, you are in Nigredo. This is not the end. This is exactly where this powerful transformation has to begin. You're not broken. You're just breaking open.
And this right here illustrates the full journey so brilliantly. The darkness, the chaos, that feeling of being completely lost, that is the essential first step toward wholeness and purpose and becoming the person you were always meant to be. The darkness is what makes the light possible.
So we've got the biological reality of the HPA axis, and we've got the psychological map of alchemy. Now let's bring it all together and talk about the practical tools you can actually use to start rewiring your brain.
Mental Mike shows us that addiction carves these incredibly powerful habit loops deep into our brain's pathways. You have a cue, like stress, which triggers an automatic routine, using, which then delivers a reward of temporary relief. This is exactly why willpower alone so often feels impossible. You're literally fighting against a deeply ingrained automatic process.
But here is the really empowering part. The very same mechanism that built all those old habits can be used to build new ones. We're not just breaking old habits here. We are consciously and systematically designing new routines that are going to become your new automatic state of being.
This is how we do it. It's called an implementation intention. It's a simple but incredibly powerful if-then plan that actually pre-decides your response to a trigger. What this does is it bypasses the need for that exhausted, in-the-moment willpower and just lets your brain's automatic system do the heavy lifting for you.
Okay, so let's put all of this together into practice. With just a few simple, really powerful exercises you can begin using today to support your transformation.
Our first tool is so incredibly simple, and it all starts with just 5 minutes.
That's really it. Just 5 minutes of what's called coherent breathing. By breathing in for 5 and out for 5, you are sending a direct, powerful signal to your body to shift out of that fight or flight panic mode and into the rest and digest state. That's where the healing happens. It literally calms the biological storm inside you.
Next up, let's get strategic. For this next tool, I want you to just take a moment and identify your top 3 triggers. Now, for each one of those 3 triggers, you're going to write down a specific if-then plan. Something like, if my boss emails me after hours, then I will step outside and take 10 deep breaths. Actually write them down. Look at them every day. Turn them into your brain's new go-to response.
And finally, our third tool. It's a bit of a challenge, I'll admit, but all it requires is 30 seconds to start.
Yep, just 30 seconds of courage. Ending your shower with a blast of cold water does something pretty remarkable. It intentionally triggers a small, manageable stress response and then allows your body to practice recovering from it quickly. Over time, this literally trains your HPA axis to be more resilient, building this profound strength to handle whatever life decides to throw at you.
Please, I want you to hold on to this fundamental truth from the Unified Flux Model. Every challenge, every difficult emotion, every single moment of struggle you're facing is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign of deep, powerful, and necessary change happening inside you. It's just reorganization. Take this question with you this week. Think about it. Are you in the breakdown of Nigredo? Or maybe the emerging clarity of albedo? Just knowing where you are on the map can change everything. Trust the process. I promise, you are exactly where you need to be.
I used to think I was just weak under pressure. That's honestly what I believed, because everybody else around me seemed able to handle life without falling apart emotionally. Meanwhile, I felt like my nervous system stayed one bad phone call away from complete collapse, and working emergency dispatch didn't help. You hear enough scream at people, enough death, enough panic. Eventually, your body forgets how to turn the alarm system off. That podcast explained something nobody ever explained to me before. My stress system wasn't broken because I was defective. It was exhausted. The way they described the HPA axis being stuck in overdrive. That was me exactly. Even after getting sober, I kept waiting to feel peace. Instead, I was irritable, emotional, Couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. 1 second crying, next second angry for no reason. And honestly, part of me thought recovery just wasn't working for me. Then I heard this episode. When they said early recovery can feel chaotic because your stress system is trying to rebalance itself, I almost cried from relief because suddenly I stopped interpreting every emotional swing as failure. I started seeing it as healing. That changed everything psychologically. The alchemy part hit me hard too, especially Nigredo, that stage where everything feels like it's falling apart. That word stayed with me all week because my whole life looked destroyed when I finally stopped drinking. Marriage barely hanging on. Kids emotionally distant. Body unhealthy, mind unstable, and sobriety didn't magically fix any of it overnight. Actually, at first, it made everything more visible. That was terrifying, but the podcast reframed it differently. You're not broken, you're breaking open. Man, that line landed deep because maybe collapse isn't always destruction. Maybe sometimes it's reorganization. I never thought about healing that way before. The implementation intention thing actually helped me too. The if-then plans. Simple stuff. If I feel overwhelmed after work, then I walk outside before touching alcohol. If I start spiraling emotionally at night, then I call somebody before isolating. At first, it felt stupidly simple, but honestly, when your brain is exhausted, simple matters. Recovery isn't always some giant spiritual breakthrough. Sometimes it's just having a plan before panic shows up. That coherent breathing exercise surprised me too. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. I started doing it sitting in my car before work, and for the first time in years, I noticed my body calming down without chemicals. That sounds small to normal people. To an addict, that feels revolutionary. The cold shower thing, though, I hated that immediately, but weirdly enough, it worked. It reminded me my body could survive discomfort without escaping it. That lesson applies to way more than cold water. That's recovery right there. Learning that discomfort isn't death. I think that's what this podcast finally helped me understand. My emotions aren't proof that I'm failing. My cravings aren't proof that I'm doomed. My nervous system reactions aren't proof that I'm weak. They're proof that something inside me is trying to reorganize itself. After years of chemical survival, that feels different, kinder somehow, and honestly, after spending most of my life attacking myself mentally, learning how to approach healing with patience instead of punishment might be the hardest recovery skill I've had to learn. But maybe that's the real transformation, not becoming emotionless, becoming regulated enough to stay present with yourself while healing happens.
If something in this conversation stood out to you, don't ignore that. That's usually where the work begins. Recovery isn't about trying harder. It's about understanding what's actually happening and learning how to respond differently over time. If you're ready to take the next step, you can find resources, guidance, and support at soulrecoveryhub.com. Take what you heard today, sit with it, and keep moving forward. Copyright 2026, Mental Mike, all rights reserved.